As I said in an earlier video, the Trump convention is every bit the debacle, the divisive, chaotic dumpster fire that we all thought it would be. Those of us in the none of the above movement. It was inevitable. I mean, look who the nominee is. It couldn't help but be a debacle. And it's been that. But even on its own terms, it's been a failure. It was a failure before it even began, as Jonah Goldberg observes today at National Review. It was reported late on the second day of the Trump convention that a large number of RNC staffers were stricken with the norovirus, most commonly associated with the sorts of gastrointestinal crises aboard cruise ships that attract wall-to-wall CNN coverage. The norovirus is known for inducing bouts of explosive diarrhea and vomiting, according to various news reports. Given that the presidential primary season has been figuratively bowel stewing, it only seems fitting that it might end with such on-the-nose literalism. In fairness, even if the convention went off swimmingly, it would still have been a failure. And I don't mean because Donald Trump promised celebrity glitz but delivered former sitcom star Scott Baio and former soap opera star Antonio Sabato Jr. Even Mitt Romney had Clint Eastwood, for heaven's sake. Nor am I referring to the political malpractice that allowed Melania Trump to introduce herself to the country as a plagiarist. Well, Goldberg has sympathy for Mrs. Trump, I don't. Obviously, the media overreacted to the plagiarism. It's symptomatic of what Donald Trump is, i.e. a liberal Democrat. It's a long tradition of liberal Democrat plagiarism, after all. Such overreactions are exactly why parties script out their conventions down to the punctuation marks. The media only want to cover what goes wrong, so you aim not to give them the opportunity. As a matter of ethics, the plagiarism was a triviality. Well, I'll leave that up to you to decide for yourselves. But for the staffers who let it happen, it was a capital offense. No, the convention was a failure before it even began. Because most of us have only known political conventions as stage-managed infomercials. We've come to think that that's their actual purpose, to throw a grand party for the candidate who won the most delegates. The conventions predate that function by more than a century. Before telephones and modern transportation, the only way for a political party to form a consensus around a candidate was to actually meet face-to-face. Negotiating complicated deals by mail is hard and risky. Many political bargains are best not put in writing, after all. A convention was the way to do that. The goal wasn't to pick a candidate whom a bare majority or slim plurality of delegates loved and a large minority or majority couldn't stand. It was to find the candidate most acceptable to the most people. Imagine the candidates were ice cream flavors. Some people love chocolate. Others love strawberry. But many of the strawberry people hate chocolate, and the chocolate fans are never strawberry. A few diehard types are all in for Rocky Road or pistachio. If no consensus can be formed, the bosses would retreat to smoke-filled rooms and figure out what flavor everyone could live with. And the answer was often vanilla. There's a reason vanilla is the most popular ice cream in America, after all. Not because it's the favorite of the most people, but because no one dislikes vanilla. That's the original purpose of conventions. To find the candidate the party could unify around. Since the rise of the modern primary system, we switched to the practice of putting it all up for a vote. Whoever gets a majority of delegates in primary elections is the nominee. This wasn't a problem most years because all of the candidates were ultimately acceptable to the party and all of the candidates actually belonged to the party. People grumbled about this or that candidate, I certainly did, but there was never a never Dole or never Romney movement. But this time's different. Countless leading Republicans skipped this convention, including all of the living previous nominees, save for Bob Dole. Most delegates in attendance have made their peace with Donald Trump, but a very large number have not. The Trump boosters think this is all sour grapes, but what they can't or won't see is that Trump is viewed by many conservatives as an imposter and hijacker, which is exactly what he is. The Trump campaign tried to fix this problem by selecting Indiana Governor Mike Pence as his running mate, but Trump stomped on that message by fumbling his announcement and then in a joint interview with 60 Minutes treating Pence like a glorified intern. The message for many conservatives wasn't that Trump was embracing conservatism, but that he was willing to condescend to it. TV cameras may show a lot of excited delegates cheering Trump on the floor, but the cameras can't show is the discontent represented by those who refused to attend in the first place, nor the grumbling distress deep in the bowels of the grand old party. And yet, they demand unity. They demand it. But unity has to be earned. You have to win us over. You haven't even tried. You've just demanded it. You expected it. Like we had no choice. But we do have a choice. You can't demand unity. You have to earn it. And you haven't even tried. So screw you. And piss off.